So Donald Trump pleads the Fifth, and Republican Congressman Scott Perry has his cell phone seized by the FBI. Does it feel like accountability is trending? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So it's been a pretty good week for justice, and it's only Wednesday. Let's take on two stories. First, Donald Trump pleads the Fifth, and second, Republican Congressman Scott Perry has his cell phone seized by the FBI. First, let's do Trump. This from NPR. Trump says he refused questions, invoked the Fifth Amendment in New York investigation. And that article begins, Donald Trump invoked the Fifth Amendment and wouldn't answer questions under oath in the New York Attorney General's long-running civil investigation into his business dealings, the former president said in a statement Wednesday. Trump arrived at Attorney General Leticia James' offices in a motorcade shortly before 9 a.m., announcing more than an hour later that he declined to answer the questions under the rights and privileges afforded to every citizen under the U.S. Constitution. That's strange, because I thought I recall Trump saying only mobsters plead the Fifth. Guess he had a change of heart. Let's take just a few minutes talking about the implications of Donald Trump pleading the Fifth in the context of a civil investigation, a civil case, as opposed to a criminal case, because the consequences are pretty dramatically different. First of all, I embrace the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and everybody's right to invoke it if their truthful testimony would tend to incriminate them. If their truthful testimony would make it seem like they committed a crime, the Constitution protects them against compelled self-incrimination. And I think we need to hold on to every constitutional right we still have, because we know that an illegitimate Supreme Court is coming to take more of our constitutional rights away. But what are the implications when one pleads the Fifth? Well, in a criminal case, you can plead the Fifth. You can invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, and it can never be held against you. You can take the Fifth when you're under arrest and the police are trying to question you. That's when they read you your Miranda rights. You have a right to remain silent, etc. That's how we implement the Fifth Amendment protections in the setting of a police interrogation. And the fact that you refuse to answer questions in a police interrogation, that can never be introduced against you at your trial in court. You can plead the Fifth in the grand jury in a criminal investigation. That can never be held against you. And you can invoke your right to remain silent at your own criminal trial, and that can never be held against you. But in a civil setting, in a civil investigation, in a civil case like A.G. Tish James' investigation in New York, when you plead the Fifth like Donald Trump just did today, that can be used against you. How? When this civil case goes to trial, if it goes to trial rather than settling, the jury would be told that, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump was asked questions under oath at a deposition, and he pled the Fifth. He invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to answer questions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you can hold that against him. You can draw negative inferences. In other words, you can conclude that his testimony would have hurt him, hurt his position, hurt his case, and you can hold it against him. You can use that as part of the evidence when you're resolving this civil case. So yeah, that's going to leave a mark in the context of a civil case. So apparently only mobsters and Donald Trump plead the Fifth. That's a little unfair. Everybody has a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Nobody should ever be compelled by the government to incriminate themselves, not even Donald Trump. Now, let's do Scott Perry. So Scott Perry's middle name is Gordon, but I think he's earned a different set of middle initials. From now on, I'm going to refer to him as Scott PM Perry. Why PM? Pardon me. Scott, pardon me, Perry. Let's do Scott Perry in 3 easy headlines. First, from Politico. Meadows burned papers after meeting with Scott Perry. Because of course he did. The Chief of Staff to the President of the United States meets with a member of Congress, Scott Perry, a member of a co-equal branch of government, and after that meeting, Mark Meadows burns papers. Now, we don't know what's on those papers, but at some point I suspect we will. Here's a second headline. Scott Perry sought pardon for role in trying to overturn 2020 election. Because of course he did. He knew he'd committed crimes and he wanted to get away with those crimes, so he asked Donald Trump, who may turn out to be a co-conspirator of Scott Perry's, to pardon him. We don't yet know if Donald Trump gave Scott Perry a pocket pardon. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that in the future. Why? Well, because of the next headline. This from the Washington Post. FBI takes Representative Scott Perry's phone as part of fake elector investigation. And that article begins, federal agents seized the cell phone of Representative Scott Perry while he was traveling with his family Tuesday, executing a court-authorized search warrant that a person familiar with the situation said was part of a criminal probe into efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Now, there is so much more to Scott PM Perry's misconduct. For example, you may recall Scott Perry introduced Jeffrey Clark, high DOJ official who joined Donald Trump's conspiracy and was willing to corrupt and weaponize the Department of Justice to help Donald Trump overturned the results of the presidential election. Jeffrey Clark was Scott Perry's man. Scott PM Perry was pushing for Clark to be named acting attorney general, even though he had no qualifications other than being willing to join Trump's conspiracy. Oh, and Jeffrey Clark, by the way, who also had his cell phone seized pursuant to a court-authorized search warrant by federal officials. Yeah, Scott Perry and Jeffrey Clark are apparently birds of a feather, but we're not going to get into all of the other Scott PM Perry's misconduct. We're going to save that for another day. Today, we're just going to savor the fact that accountability is trending and that we are picking up speed on the road to justice. And justice matters. Friends, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.